Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel with me, GWFM, and it's another rant on Leeds United, and this one is going to be the recent Radrizzani comments, as well as obviously the review of the last couple of games, i.e. Wolves and Reading, respectively. But today, it's a bit different, and it's a little bit of a delay since the last one, so I'm going to try and make up with it by having a guest with us, and it's the fella you can probably see up in this corner, in the top corner next to Bailey Peacock-Farrell. And it's Mattinho Got Game. He's a fellow YouTuber, and yeah, he's a keen Leeds fan, so I'll let him explain a little bit about himself now.
Well, hi, for a start off. The picture you see in the top right corner isn't actually me, but it's my channel logo. But yeah, massive Leeds fan since the early 90s, and like a lot of you, I suppose, kind of annoyed about what's been going on for the last 10 or so years. So, yeah, who doesn't love a good Leeds rant, eh?
Definitely. But what we're going to talk about, like I've mentioned already before, is Radrizzani. It's to do with the comments after the Middlesbrough game, otherwise known as Wolves. In particular, we started off with with his comments on his Twitter. And basically, since the time in between, there's been more and more that's added. So I've decided to dedicate it just to Radrizzani this time. So we'll start off with his Twitter comments. And it's the one that proceeded straight after the game against Wolves, where we got trounced 3-0. Less said about that, the better. We'll get onto the review on that later. He goes on to say, "We have our own problems, but we should play in a fair competition. Not legal and fair. Let one team owned by a fund whom has shares in the biggest players agency with evident benefits, in brackets top European clubs, giving players with options to buy. Why the other three teams can't have the same treatment? We should play all 24 with the same rules and opportunities. It's enough to Google it." And that was aimed at the EFL. And it says afterwards, congratulations to the best team, but hope the league can be fair and equal to all 24 teams. Now, is that a fair comment, or is he just spitting a dummy out and throwing his toys out of pram? Because it was kind of a mixed, sort of situation. What do you think, Matt?
Honestly, I think he's gone about it the wrong way. I'm not saying what Wolves are doing are legal, but I think he should have been, the first port of call was to be, before he starts opening his mouth and criticising them and say, oh, this isn't fair, he should have gone, wrote the letter to the FA, which he's done now. Yeah. And asked, is this fair? If it's not, then kick up the storm, make it public. Because it just, from that comment and then further comments on, he's kind of flip-flopping, isn't he? He's like, oh, this isn't legal, but if it is, we should do it. And it's just, he's supposed to be the chairman. He's supposed to be leading by example. And like I said, I think while a lot of us are probably thinking it a little bit like, well, they've got all these great players and they've got them, on loan deals and probably dirt cheap because of the the agent that they're working with. I would have preferred if you just maybe just asked first the FA, is this legal, and if it is, then go from there. But he's done it completely the wrong way, and he's just, I don't know, I suppose people say Leeds are a bit of a laughing stock, and this doesn't help the situation.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I did think it seemed like a lack of professionalism, and it just, I don't know, it'd have been better to keep it to himself, ask him privately, and then if anything came of it, then come public with it. But if nothing came of it, which probably won't anyway, then he can just keep it to himself and he can keep everything in the dark. I understand a lot of people are probably having a go at him, and he's probably thinking he needs to put something to try and calm everyone's passions. But I don't know. I don't know if he went about it the wrong way or right way or whatever. But like I say, it was a mixed review. I'd be interested to know what everyone thinks in the comments below as well on that subject. Right, so moving on to the next part of the Radrizzani thing, which is, I've got a few pages open on Google. So one of them is it's to do with the letter that he's sent in, and basically, it's the big spiel about like Wolves and that. It says Radrizzani goes on to ask the FA and EFL to consider Regulation A1 of the FA rules, which says no club may enter into an agreement which enables any party other than the club itself to influence materially the club's policies or the performance of its teams or players. And it goes on and says, also in 2016, the FA considered Sorry, it says in 2016, the EFL considered whether those involved were fit and proper owners. However, they didn't consider that an agent would be so involved at all levels of the club. Also, in 2016, the FA considered George Mendes' role at the club and were given assurances at that time. However, Mendes has much more influence at the club now. He has more players at the club, and more importantly, he's the agent of the manager. None of this was the case when he looked into the deal in 2016. Wolves spokesperson said, "We are very clear on FA and EFL regulations and always comply with them explicitly. We welcome any form of communication, blah, 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 blah." And that's basically what Radrizzani has sent in. So, I mean, does that make any sense to you, Matt, at all? And if so, can you elaborate at all?
The actual ruling, the rule he was mentioning, yeah, I'm not really too familiar with the EFL rules, but
No, me neither.
It's like I said. I mean, my gripe with the whole thing isn't so much what he's done; it's the order in which he's done it. So I think instead of going public, like I said, instead of going public with it and saying, you know, this is wrong, it should be equal for all 23 teams or 24 teams. Sorry, he should have wrote to the FA. Figured out if it was legal, and then if it was, then he can start maybe, you know, saying that maybe they should change the rules, or if it wasn't legal, then kick up the fuss then. But, you know, like I said, it seems like he doesn't know what he's going to say from one day to the next, really. Like, the planning is gone out the window, and it's like, oh, I'm going to criticise Wolves today. The next time I'm going to tell them I admire them, and I want to do the same, and I need clarification from here and there. It's just... Like I say, he just wakes up in the morning and the first thing that pops into his head, it appears on Twitter or on BBC Sport or Sky Sports or whatever. But
I think it's good that he's on Twitter and he's responded to people, but you just got to keep certain things to yourself, haven't you? Really, I mean, you just kind of touched it slightly. Then is he basically the next day? It's kind of like he's had a time to breathe and think about what he's going to say, and he's put like a spiel on again, just basically trying to explain his reasonings, and then that obviously letters followed afterwards. So, but yeah.
I mean, it's like you said, he's kind of dug himself into a hole, but next day he's realised he's in that hole and he's trying to dig himself out, and you can't dig yourself out of a hole, really, can you? So he just kind of digs himself a bit deeper, and I don't know. I think maybe somebody at the club just needs to say, "Okay, Rad's in the nicest way possible. Just shut your mouth, all right? Yeah. Just shut your mouth, okay? The nicest way possible. Zip it."
Yeah, until something's proved otherwise. I think that's the case. I think it's like he's saying that they're guilty. It feels like he's saying they're guilty before they're proven it. If you know what I mean, you know, not innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent in his eyes. Furthermore, with Radrizzani's comments, he decided to have a go at the players, which probably is justified in my opinion anyway. He slammed his club's players for showing no commitment, no passion and no spirit. That's basically all summed up in basically what you heard is basically to do with that. He said he's basically given them, like, just to elaborate it slightly, that he's offered them like long-term contracts so they don't have to worry about the futures or anything. They're going into the games with clear minds or whatever, or as clear as they can possibly do, and they're not paying him back basically. So obviously form has been shocking. It's no one's a stranger to that. Who's a Leeds fan. What do you think about that,
Matt? With the general criticism, I'd say that's something you kind of need to keep in house, because at this point in the season, for ourselves, we know we're looking towards next season, and if you're a player that could potentially be coming onto the market in the summer, and it's a player that could reasonably, you know, you could say, all right, fits within our wage structure or our transfer or budget structure, we could possibly get him in. Are you going to want to come to a club where the chairman is criticising the players after a bad game? I mean, yeah, it was a bad game and our form is terrible at the moment, but that just has everybody looking over their shoulder. And then when you're doing that, you can't play freely, and you start to climb up, and then you make mistakes, and it just compounds the problem and the issue. And it gets worse and worse and worse and snowballs. So, like with the criticism of Wolves and the whole EFL ruling, it should have been that he should have either kept to himself or kept in house. So it's not helpful. I can understand his frustrations, but I can't see it helping. It's just, I think it's going to make things just a hell of a lot worse, because everybody's going to be looking over their shoulder now. Yeah,
so there's a bit of a theme, isn't there? It just seems to be when the chips are down, it seems to be spouting off a lot more. That's what I feel anyway. It's just like I never really. Yes, he said that when things were going well, he'd say, "Oh, well done, TC," or whatever, or just that something might have been happening. Sorry, that's outside of the football, like off the field, and they'd be like promoting all that lot. But now everything it just seems to be happening. It seems pretty much, not everything, but pretty much. It's whenever he said anything now, it seems to be something negative, if you know what I mean, at the moment. Which we are in a negative situation. Something needs to happen. I mean, like I said, we were flying at the beginning of the season. Now we're languishing in mid-table obscurity. So. And obviously, some people are, most people are, I'll probably argue, aren't really sold with Heckingbottom at the minute as well. Obviously, proof will be proved in the pudding. Is that even the right word? I don't think it is. Proof's in the pudding. That's the one. Cheers for that. But yeah, that'll. I think he'll be here end of season. I don't think they'll sack him. I think some people are saying that he'll be sacked. I don't think he will because I don't think we'll go down. I think obviously with 50 points, it take a momentous I was going to say occasion, but it would be probably for a lot of other teams to get us relegated from this point. But I can't see it happening. So I think, obviously, like you said, we're looking into next season, and we'll have to see what happens in the summer, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned about Paul Heckingbottom and people not being convinced. I was never convinced with him.
Yeah.
He came from Barnsley, where the form was 1 win in 16.
Yeah, I must admit.
That's not the kind of form that gets you a job at Leeds United. Not saying that, it's Leeds United, it's got to be the best of the best, but considering what was on the market, Mark Hughes, Marco Silva, I think we could have done a hell of a lot better than Paul Heckingbottom. No offence to Paul, of course. He can only work with what's in front of him and what he's got. But
is that not the same at Barnsley? Because isn't that the same at Barnsley? Because obviously he had to work with what he's got. Not sticking up for him completely, and I agree to some degree because I looked at his, and I mentioned on the first video, I think, look at his record coming into this job, and it's just like, what? 1 win in 16? How's he managed to get a job? I mean, might as well just stuck with TC at the time, and that's what I thought at the time. I mean, I liked the fact that I like how he speaks, of course, but it's getting it onto the pitch that matters more than anything. And I just think, like I say, Heckingbottom is not really the big name manager. I mean, I'm not sure he'd be popular suggesting Mark Hughes would be an ex-Man U. A lot of fans are like, they don't like ex-Man U like personnel, let alone players. But I know what you mean. I mean, like it's a Silva were available. He got sacked from Watford, but there's rumours that he didn't want to drop down to the Championship. I don't know how true that was. Was it a case of he felt he had to sack him, and who could we get? Is he actually going to be like an interim manager to end the season, and then we'll get someone in for summer? I can't see it because he paid £500,000 for him. So he must think highly of him if he's going to pay that sort of money for him. Even if it were just going to be for an interim period until end of the season, still an expensive way to go about it, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but I can see where you're coming from with that. And if he is an interim manager, it's a very expensive one, but. If the form we're on at the moment continues, if by the end of the season I don't know how many games we would have had, maybe 15 or so games, maybe less. If we're like 1 win in 15, then I think he's got to go.
Yeah, I have to agree. If form doesn't improve, then it's same as anything. It's like some people compare him to Hockaday. I don't think you can compare him to Hockaday. Hockaday came from like non-league fitness coach sort of area, whereas at least he's managed in this division, albeit with with the struggling side. But let's not forget. I mean, don't get me wrong. They got a few players. They lost a few players in terms of like selling players and loanees going back to the clubs or whatever. I remember getting destroyed 3-2. It said destroyed 3-2. 3-2 didn't sound that bad, but I remember getting tore apart when we played them away from home last season. And it was his team at the end of the day. So that's what he's capable of if he gets the right personnel. And that's why I've still got a little bit of hope he's going to be all right. So I don't know. I don't think most people are going to be won over unless he actually just starts, tearing it up basically and just destroying everyone like what TC were doing at the beginning of the season when they were making like pictures making him look like Jesus and stuff. Yeah. I don't think you'll get that with Paul Heckingbottom. He doesn't have a beard, so.
Photoshop can do many things, mate.
Yeah, many true enough. True enough. Yeah. But just quickly moving on, like touching on what Heckingbottom said about Andrea Radrizzani's comments. He says he's got every right to have his say on the first team affairs following his outburst. That's basically what he's saying. So he's backing what the coach is saying, what the owner's saying. Is that basically just a bit of get his nose nice and deep in between Radrizzani's arse? Or is he just agreeing because it's right to agree?
It's a tough one. I think it does a little bit seem like he's just saying, okay, yeah, good one, boss. Yeah, I agree with you fully.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm still of the thinking that this stuff should be in-house. We shouldn't see it. I know a lot of fans are like, well, they don't really tell us much and all this, but this is stuff we don't want to see purely because everyone else can see it. It's not exclusive to Leeds fans. Everybody can see it, including players that potentially could be coming to us. And
I see what
if
you're
you know that, one or two mistakes, you're going to have the chairman on your back, and then the manager's going to back him up, and you're just going to be backs against the wall. And like I said, it just compounds the issue of bad form, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So, but was he right to say it? I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified to say whether it was right or wrong, but whatever.
It's one of them.
Now.
It'd just be interesting to know what people would do. Again, in the comments below, what would you do in that situation if you were the manager or head coach, as it were, and your boss, as it were, he turns around and slates all your players? What can you do? Would you defend them? Because the way that they've been performing lately, you can't really defend them, can you? You know, there's one or two players, maybe, yeah, but not everyone. I mean, apparently, Berardi, he was asked about it in an interview, a press conference yesterday, I think it was, and he said, if I want to speak to the owner, I'll speak to his face. The way it's been worded, though, it just sounds like he'd offer him on. just makes me laugh. I'm like, what? Berardi said what? Is he wanted to be sort of like first one out of club? But I don't know. I mean, it's probably been misinterpreted, I think. I think he's all right at English, but I don't think he's amazing at it. But anyway, right. So final thing before we go to the match reviews of the recent two reviews or recent two games, should I say? Heckingbottom was quoted as saying about next season, it's going to be tough for us to get into the promotion/playoff places next season because of reasons like the parachute payments from the teams that are coming down and whatever, and the amount of money on certain teams. Thinking like if Barnsley stay up, they're going to be potentially one of them. I reckon it could be that could do something similar maybe to Wolves. Obviously, it remains to be seen because they might still go down yet. You never know. It's looking a bit tight down there at the moment. But it's just a case of, is that like a defeatist sort of like a comment just to fall back on if we don't do it next season, like getting the excuses in early, or do you think he's got a point?
I mean, I think regardless of how much money a team spends, you can see that at the top of the table right now, Wolves are not that far ahead of Cardiff. I think it is. We're in second. So it's always going to be tough to get promoted, but at the same time, it's not like teams getting promoted to the Premier League is exclusively teams that have just come down or still got parachute payments. Brighton and Huddersfield went up last season, didn't they?
Yep.
And I don't quite know how they're doing, but I don't think they're rock bottom. So they didn't have parachute payments, basically. They didn't have that to fall back on. I don't know about their finances, but we do know they didn't have that. So it's tough to say whether it's a cop-out or not. It could be, because it is going to be tough. But
yeah, I think it is. I mean, you're looking at the teams that are going to be coming down. West Brom's going to be one of them, I reckon.
Yeah.
I mean, they're about 7 points adrift of like 19th spot, let alone relegation. Huddersfield are in there in the mix. Stoke City, I think, are in the relegation zone, as well as, is it Swansea? I think Swansea could go down, and I think there's Palace as well. Southampton are in there. So there's quite a few. There's about 6 or 7 teams that could still go down. But they're all teams that, well, some of them are established teams that have been there for a while. And I would imagine they'll be decent if they come down. You know, I don't think they'll go into like financial disrepair. You know, I think it's going to be tough, whoever comes down, to be honest with you. Huddersfield, as much as it might pain us to say it, they're quite a well-run club these days with the chairman, I think, is Dean Hoyle. Apparently, all the town fans that I know seem to sing his praises. And obviously, as long as they can keep on, Wagner showed what he could do when they were in our division. And I think, who else is there? You know, the likes of, you know, the teams that don't go up. There's going to be, I think the ones that are going up, Wolves are going up definitely, and it's going to be one of Villa, I reckon, Villa, Cardiff, because I don't think they're up yet, Cardiff, but I think Wolves still are. Fulham have put on a great run. They could still sneak second spot, and then there's going to be teams in there in that group are not going to go up, and they're going to be strong next season as well. The one thing I will say about the money getting spent on a lot of on some of the teams anyway. Look at Sheffield Wednesday at the minute. We're playing them next, and they're rumoured to be, they're struggling financially. Put it that way. And that's the other end. So a lot of Leeds fans are saying we need to spend. Look no further than Sheffield Wednesday at the minute, because they've gambled. They signed likes of Jordan Rhodes and gambled a lot of money on him. And you just have to look where they are now at the minute. I mean, yes, they beat us at their place. So chances are, because our record in derbies isn't the best, they'll probably beat us on Saturday as well. I'm hoping not. But it's such a hard division to get out of in the first place. But like I said, when this team's coming down with the financial rewards, as it were, obviously only for so long. I mean, Cardiff got the parachute payments. They've run out, right? But they've had them. So it's how they use that money and how they spend it, I suppose. But it's going to be tough, I reckon. I mean, who would you say is going to be going up, and who's going to be staying down with us next season?
Considering the form they're on, I think Fulham will go up with Wolves automatically. And then, I mean, the playoffs is a bit of a wild card, but I'd possibly say Villa.
You'd think so, wouldn't you, I think?
I think Villa, but like I said, it's a tough one. The playoffs is a wild card. I know you get like 2 legs, but still, if you get what could be considered an unlikely result away from home and you bring another team home and they've got to chase it, then gives you a position of strength, and you could probably go on. And then, Wembley playoff finals, like I said, it can go either way.
It's a lottery, isn't it? Lottery.
Yeah, pretty much. So my predictions would be Wolves and Fulham automatic, and more than likely Villa going up. But, I mean, touching on kind of another thing you said about, we need to spend money, like Sheffield Wednesday. That's sort of how we got into this mess in the first place.
Exactly, yeah.
There is now spending money we blatantly didn't have, and then when we didn't reach the targets we needed to keep ourselves stable financially, it all came crashing down, and that's why we're here now, lingering in the second tier for nearly 15 years now.
Aside from the 3 seasons in League One as well. Let's not forget about that.
Oh, of course. How can I forget about that? Yeah. So,
and the minus 15, because we want this administration for financial reasons then as well.
Yeah. So it's, while I agree we do need to spend money, and one of the frustrating things was January, I don't think we spent enough, but it's not just about spending money. You have to spend the money to get the right people in to do the job, and I think that's something we've struggled with, especially in January. I think that's something we've struggled with. So it's going to be tough. It's always going to be tough because the Championship's always probably one of, if not the toughest divisions in not just England, it could be the world, considering how hard it is to get out, the quality of teams.
And the prize.
Improving. The prize as well. But I think we have a chance, but like I said, it all depends on how we go about our business in the summer and if we can make the right deals.
I agree on that, yeah. Just quickly before we get into the Wolves and Reading games, what's your thoughts on Arta? It could be a lengthy one.
I've never been a fan of the whole director of football thing. I want to see a manager choosing the players he wants at the club, because he's got to put the team together that gets us, where we want to be promoted. And if it just feels like with Orta, he's getting players in and giving them to Paul or Christiansen or Heckingbottom and just said, make it work. And I'd like to see the manager say, okay, if I get him in, then I can do this, or, get those 2 in, I can do this, and maybe move someone else on, and then we can bring someone else in. So I think he's kind of been found out a little bit, maybe, with his signings.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a couple of good ones. Size has been good. Not recently, of course, but he has been good overall. But
I'd agree with that.
I think when you sack the manager due to poor form, and it's the players producing that poor form, you got to look at who started to bring in the players. And I honestly do not trust Orta to have another transfer window, because it could just be money just. I
think he'll get another one. I think he'll get another transfer window at least. I think he'll get one with Paul. I don't want to call him Paul like I know him. Heckingbottom. He I don't know. He was saying, didn't he? They had like an interview. Radrizzani, Angus, and Norton. They said basically that Paul will have the say-so to sign off any signings. But like I say, it's putting a trust in his scouting team. But if him and his scouting team aren't any good, I mean, he's not going to have the time to go out and look at all these players, is he? You know, as well as coach everything. That's the idea behind it. It's to let him just get on with all the coaching side of it and managing the team, I suppose, without being called a manager. But you know, he's not actually doing it the ins and outs of everything, which is what he did by all accounts, I believe, at Barnsley. So, but I don't know. Like I said, there's been some good players. I mean, Forshaw's coming in and he's impressed me, despite us not winning with him, which is a surprising sentence to say. But he's the one who stood out when in every performance that we've had. He's the one who's probably played the best out of everyone. Other than that, you know, signing that striker, the rumours, I think I mentioned it last time on the last video, that we've signed him, and they're saying it's a minor injury, but we won't see him until next season because it's actually a major injury. But we've got him cheaper because he's injured, and if he was fit at the end of the season, we'd have to pay double or something. That's the rumour I saw. It was a quote that I read on the end of the last one.
You mean Tyler Roberts?
That's the one, Tyler Roberts.
I was under the impression that he was out of contract in the summer.
No, I mean, I saw that as well, but I don't understand why that would be said. And it's from someone who apparently works at Thorpe Arch that's passed on the information to the guy who's in that Facebook group thing. And he's usually reliable for his sources and stuff, that's all. Not saying it's true, it's just it's the rumours at the end of the day, it's gossip. But I don't know. But anyway, we'll get into the games against Wolves. Do you remember much about the Wolves game? And Reading, of course.
Unfortunately, yeah, I
do. Any positives?
Bailey Peacock-Farrell.
Yes, I was just going to move on to that.
He let in 3 goals and maybe a little bit naive for the last one, but I think overall he was a big step up in terms of quality compared to Wiedwald and Lonergan.
Now, we have a commentator, I have a commentator called Clive T, who thinks we're targeting Wiedwald quite a lot. I can see where he's coming from because, yes, the mistake probably against Middlesbrough, that was probably one of his lesser mistakes, but it doesn't change from the fact that it's the confidence that it gives everyone. And as mentioned, I touched on it last time in the last video, that the confidence, it can't just be us that's seeing it because he's now been dropped, if you know what I mean. And he's willing to put in a young kid. I mean, yes, a young kid. He's like 21, 22 or something, which is not that young. But he's willing to put him in despite him not really being tested because something's amiss. So he's had a look at him, a few games as Heckingbottom, and he's decided that he's like us and he's seen that he's not good enough at one aspect of his game. I don't know. I've always said this about Wiedwald. He's decent. He's good at shot stopping. Just his command in the box is just shocking for me. His ability to punch is turd. That's to put it politely, mate.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is. He comes out and every single game he'll have one attempt where he comes out, goes to punch it, and he'll either miss punch it or just miss it completely and put us in a hell of a lot of trouble. And half at time, well, I say half at time, it's not half at time because I think he's got 5 times from his errors. But at the end of the day, he's given them key opportunities to score the opposition, that is, and are relying on last-ditch blocks or something to get us out of a hole because that he's created by coming when he could have stayed and just let the defenders deal with it because he's going to come out and shout and our defenders are going to go, shit, keeper's coming, let him get it. Well, at least that's what I think in our level of football, that in Saturday Sunday League. You know, it's basic stuff like if keeper shouts, you leave it. That's as far as I'm aware, being like a former defender, if I want to call myself that, even though I've not played a professional, so I don't know why I'm saying that. But okay. But anyway, the rest of the game, the way I saw it is we played dreadfully at first half. Second half, first 10 minutes we picked up a little bit, but still not that good. And then it went back to square one. And like I say, I agree, Bailey Peacock-Farrell was a little bit naive for the third goal. I completely agree with that. Do you think you were right? Obviously, it seems like you did in hindsight, but do you think you were right to take out Wiedwald then, based on everything, and put in Peacock-Farrell?
I do. Because...
Why?
Wiedwald, obviously, a lot of people say, he gets criticised a lot and he makes mistakes and so on and so forth, but at the end of the day, we had to find out, is Bailey Peacock-Farrell as bad as Wiedwald? And he isn't. He's not. He's better in my opinion. I think we're at a point where it was like almost, well, what do we have to lose, really? You know,
Well, yeah. I mean, I
we should
remember
just give them a
seeing.
chance.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember that there were some pictures on Facebook, and basically we're saying, "Oh, anyone would do better than Wiedveld," and they're like a picture of like a skeleton dead, like a dead skeleton, just sat on a bench saying, "Oh, he could do better. Throw him in. He's better than the shuffling Wiedveld. Anyone could do better. So why not try the kids? Like, you know, regardless, I think something had to happen with Wiedveld. Even if it was just a drop it to give him a kick up the backside, but." The way he's seen it, because obviously there's nothing else really to mention about the Wolves game. We'll move on swiftly into the Reading game. But Heckingbottom stuck with him. He must have deemed, even though he conceded 3 goals, he stuck with him going into the Reading game, and he's conceded 2 more goals. Now, would you say that he was at fault for those goals against Reading?
I don't recall the first one, but I know the second one. We were just, and the manager actually mentioned it. We were just so stupid because we just poured forward for some reason for a corner, and then we got caught on the break, and that's where the second goal, the equaliser, came from. And you know, as good as a keeper is, you could have the best keeper in the history of the world, but he is still going to concede a few goals here and there. That's going to happen.
I remember listening to it. It said it was like a deflected shot as well. Like, I think we're an own goal from O'Kane.
Yeah, it was, but like I said,
it came from the break.
It came from a break, and you know, if it's deflected as well, that's not going to help. It's going to make it more difficult for the keeper to save it. But I don't think we could really put much blame on Bailey Peacock-Farrell. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to, kiss his ass or anything, but think about the same situation with Wiedvald in it. Would he have done better?
Yeah, probably. You could probably argue not. I don't know. It was just. I know we keep berating Wiedveld, but it's just it's like, I don't know. It's just a confidence factor. You just don't feel confident, and I'm pretty sure that must rub off on defenders. You know, they're not confident that it can bail them out if they do make any mistakes. It's like every time the defender makes a mistake, they're guaranteed to concede a goal. That's the way I feel, anyway. But that's me. Otherwise, though, in terms of the Reading game, positive was, for again a short while, we were ahead after going 1-0 behind. Have we actually had a game where we haven't gone behind under Heckingbottom? Have we gone behind in every single game? I think we have, haven't we? Oh, Brentford, of course. We beat them, didn't we? 1-0. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, we made hard work of it, but we beat them.
But, what happened? Pontus Janssen scored. So you got an equaliser. It took I said deflection. Defender tried clearing it offline and rifled it into the top corner. And then who got the other? It was actually misses, because what happened was the stream went down or whatever, and then it came back on again, and then scored. I'm like, bastard, I missed the goal. But I think it was Hernandez scored a long range strike. Is that right?
Yeah, it was Hernandez. Yeah,
and then literally it came back on, and I literally just saw the end of the goal going in. So that's why I can't remember what happened before in terms of the breakaway, if you know what I mean, that you were saying it happened for the equaliser. But yeah, I just remember thinking, oh, nice one with 2-1. And then, 2-2. Like, yeah, nice one. And we were lucky, really. I think we hit the post twice as well. I think we've got to be positive where we can. Obviously, the negative is Reading are struggling this season and they're doing a bit of shit. But, they had a decent result, I think, against Middlesbrough, wasn't it? Did they draw 3-3 against them? And then we ended up drawing 2-2 with them. Bit disappointed that we didn't get the 3 points, but the performance was a lot better, but it was against a weaker side, you would argue. What do we think of that?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for that one. Can't really think of much else to say about that game. It was the Reading game, sorry.
Yeah,
was it the Reading game we were talking about?
It was, yeah, Reading, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to read something with regards to our recent form and so on, but
it's been appalling.
Yeah, I mean, we had a good chance at the end of the game with Alioski, but the keeper made a very good save. But
yeah,
it would have been nice to win, but at the same time, it's nice not to lose, I suppose you could say. And we're away from home, and Reading had their moments. They're not as good as they were maybe last season or the season beforehand, but still, a point's a point, and it kind of stopped the tide of defeat, because we were back-to-back 3-0
defeats,
with Borough and thingy. So, but I can see where people were coming from. The game was there to be won, but at the same time, it could have gone the other way as well. So
True
I
enough,
think it
yeah.
might have been fair in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I just remembered the first goal. It got for some reason, I don't know why, there was a massive gap between the defenders and the ball just got played through and he ran through and scored. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, there was no chance for Peacock Farrell on that one. But finally, final point, of course, is we've got a game. I'm going to try and get this up hopefully before the game. It should be. And it's the game against Sheffield Wednesday. Now, last time, obviously, I mentioned before, we lost 3-0. Played very, very poorly. It was reminiscent of the Millwall game when we played equally as poorly. And that was for me where I was thinking, well, we're shit in derbies once again. The players don't understand like the passion in terms of rival games and what have you. Now, how do you think the game's going to go this time? We are at home, of course, back at Ellen Road.
I think we can win it. Sheffield Wednesday are not in great form. I think they've lost 5 of their last 6. So they've lost to Villa, Swansea in the FA Cup, Bristol, Ipswich at home, and they drew last time out against Bolton at home, who are not doing well themselves. But
yeah,
I think we can win. But again, we've not exactly covered ourselves in glory when it comes to derby games. So I can see it being a bit like the Brentford game. I think we may win, maybe by a goal, maybe 1-0 or 2-1. I don't think we're going to absolutely walk over them. I think it's going to be one of those. We won, but it was bloody hard work. And if we get a draw out of it as well, I'll be disappointed. But it's a derby game, so it'd be a bit of an improvement still, wouldn't it?
I personally think it will be a draw, and it's not because I want us to draw or anything like that. I just think because of the way our form's going, people might say, "Come on, we've still got a chance at playoffs." I think the way we've been performing, we're going to have to win pretty much every single game, which I'm sorry, I just can't see happening. We've got Fulham to play as well, who are the form side as well, so I'm not really looking forward to that game. But you know, who knows? If we get a win and get a little bit of a lift for the end of the season, you know, and we win a couple of games, then maybe optimism might start to flow in my veins again coming next season. But I think this season's gone. It's a shame to say that, saying that we're only in March, you know, and the season's gone. But at least, you know, the form we've been in has been relegation form. I don't see there being any danger of that. I think there's too many points for other teams to make up. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully, we can have a decent end to the season. But when there's not to play for, it seems, I don't see there being much. I don't want to say it, but much effort or as much effort because there's nothing to play for. If you get what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, personally, for me, considering we know the season's pretty much done, I would start looking to the youth team, who has stood out in the youth team, and start getting them like in the groove for the first team football, that sort of thing. So we maybe have that option next season. You know, blooding the youngsters, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
I'd start doing that within the next 3 or 4 games because I think within the next 3 or 4 games we'll know for sure. Unless we win our next 3 or 4 games, then promotion is very much dead and buried. I mean, I think it's dead and buried now.
Yeah, I agree.
Get the headstone sorted and whack it into the ground. So I'd start maybe thinking about getting the youngsters because, like we've seen with Bay like Peacock Farrell, while he's conceded goals, he has improved, and I think he will get better. So, who are the big ones in the youth team now? Was it Temenzikov? Is it Temenzikov? I can't remember if I'm pronouncing
Temenzikov or whatever. Yeah, well, he's been playing in under 23s. The one thing I will say is it's what Heckingbottom said, and he said he's not just going to give out chances willy nilly. He's got to show. It's trying to make him sure that they're going to earn it. So I'll be honest with you, I don't think that'll happen. I think if you're going to get another youngster, you're probably going to maybe see one, and it's probably one that keeps getting on bench. Which I think is it Pierce? Is it that left back? That's the only one I can think of that's probably got a realistic chance. I've seen Denton appear a few times as well. Maybe he could be, if you class him as a youngster, or someone from the under-23s, definitely. So we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, as much as I'd like to think, well, we've got no one to play for, we might as well. I just can't see him doing it. I'd like it as much as you, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that. What's your guys' thoughts? And let us know in the comments if you've got this far, and if you have, well done. Right, to summarise, what are your thoughts on Radrizzani's comments? Do you agree with us? Is he throwing his heads out of court? Should he be keeping stum? Or is he right to air his grievances out in the public on Twitter? And obviously to the, everything's been released now, like regarding his letter to the EFL, which I'm guessing has been like accepted to be let out, if you know what I mean, into the public. What are your thoughts on Heck's comments? Like basically backing up what Radrizzani said, and you know, what do you think to that? Is he, like I said, is he just licking ass and just agreeing, being a yes man, which has been thrown around a few times, or is he right? Because he's right in what he's saying, is Radrizzani, and he's just basically just agreeing. And then finally, let's have some score predictions for yourself. Since we're doing it before a game, Mattinho, what do you think the score's going to be from you?
I'm going to stick with what I said. I think it'll probably be 1-0 to Leeds. I think it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be a battle in the midfield. But I think, even though I'm not a big fan of Lasogga, I think he's going to be the one to get the goal, and I think we'll just about cling on and get 3 points.
Very good. I think it's going to be 1-1. I think we'll carry on as recent form of going behind. I think we'll go 1-0 down. Then second half, after playing shit in the first half, we'll pick it up in the second half. And I'm going to back Forshaw to get his first goal for the club. Yeah, bit of a outside bet, I guess. Don't know what the odds are, but I might try and see what they are. But probably going to be able to lose this. So if I put 10 quid on for Forshaw to score, I'm going to lose 10 quid, I guess. So obviously, don't forget to leave us a comment below for your score predictions. And yeah, finally, I'd just like to say thank you very much for Mattinho Got Game, and I'd urge you to check out his channel and stuff. I'll let him do all his like channel pimping and what have you. So go ahead, mate.
Yeah, so mainly doing racing content, sim racing, Gran Turismo, if you can call that a sim, Project Cars 2, stuff like that. But I will be coming back to Football Manager at some point in the near future once I've got my computer sorted. So if you're into any of that, then make sure you just head over to Mattinho Got Game on YouTube, and the same heading on Twitter at Mattinho Got Game.
Yeah, very good. Don't forget to give him a follow, and you can do to my Twitter as well at GW_FM. Let us know your opinions as well in the comments on how you thought it's gone with Mattinho being on the video as well. Is it something you'd like to say? Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of.
That's a box you don't want to open.
There's there you go. Because I've enjoyed it. I at this moment in time, I'd definitely have you on again. But obviously, if it flops and everyone says he's a no bird or whatever, then I might have to rethink it.
I'm expecting that, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure it'll go down all right. I think we've got some views are quite similar, but some of them are a bit contrasting. Like for instance, Heckingbottom, I'm willing to give him a bit of a chance where it sounds like you're completely against him. But I'm cool with that. I like different opinions. I don't mind discussing as long as you can back up the reasons and not just say, "Oh, I don't like Heckingbottom. Why? He's shit." That's not backing it up. I mean, you'd argue. No, that's not what you've said. Like, but you could argue. Yeah, he is shit because his record says so. But say that's the reason, which is what you've done. So I have no issue with you being having a different opinion to me on certain aspects of Leeds United.
Yeah, I mean, with the Heckingbottom thing, just in closing, it's not that I'm totally against him. It's just I think it's unlikely he'll be successful. But at the same time, I just really hope I'm proved wrong. And I would be happy to be proved wrong if he turns out to be a great success. But at the moment, I just can't see it. There's a lot of different factors involved. Of course, it's not just him, it's the team and so on. But yeah, I just don't think he's the right man.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Matt. And if you join us next time, not entirely sure what I'll do. If it works out all right, I'm going to try and see if I can get one out on basically on a Saturday morning, if that'd be of interest. I've been doing them on Tuesdays. I'm trying to think that I'm starting to think that maybe the days at the wrong time, because obviously it's a little bit after. If I do it before the game, then it might be all right for the predictions and whatever. So let us know in the comments if that's something you would rather have it on a Saturday morning. But otherwise, until then, we'll see you then.
See you now.